Good morning. I just want to make sure that this is working. The sound is working. Okay. Okay. Happy Sunday. Oh, you know what? I need to pull up my chat for YouTube. That would be good. How are you guys? um I've had kind of a crazy week, but it's fine. Yesterday I don't know if you guys saw, but they did a showing of The Thing, which I'm talking about tomorrow. This is why I'm breaking this up. And I watched it last night, and I guess Bong Joon Ho was like interviewing John Carpenter at this screening, which I looked at the tickets. I don't even live close to California, but I was like, that would be so fun. And anyway, it looked really fun, and I guess Bong Joon Ho asked um what's his name? John Carpenter if he would be interested in doing the music for his upcoming horror film. I guess he has an animated movie that he's doing right now and then a horror film after that. And John Carpenter said yes, and he looked very excited. So that was really fun. Um, so that's probably the biggest movie news I can think of. And yeah, the I haven't seen anything really new besides the Looney Tunes movie. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. I think that I'm hoping it's doing okay. I actually haven't looked for a couple days, but it just had no marketing or anything. Um, but it's still showing in my area at least. So I had to go like a town over because it wasn't showing like close to my house. But alas, it was worth it. It was really fun. And it was really fun seeing in the theaters. I know a lot of people are like, well, I'll just watch it on streaming or whatever, but like um okay, it's made 7 million now, which is like not a ton of money, but it's not nothing. That's really fun. I'm glad people are seeing it cuz I was wondering if like I don't know, it just wouldn't make any money. But the fact that they're doing another week of showings is a really good sign. And so hopefully that will help in the future when they're doing hopefully buying Coyote versus Acme. I know the people are way more interested in that movie, me included, honestly. I didn't think I was going to like the Looney Tunes movie as much as I did, but I think Coyote versus Acme will be really fun. And I've heard good things about it. And a lot of people are like, well, what if it's actually not a good movie? And I'm like, so what? These people spent all this time on it. I think it's important that people get to see the movie. I don't know. It seems important to me anyway. Um, so all this to say, there's always stuff going on. Um, yeah, I'm behind. I still need want to see Black Bank. The Is that what it's called? The Steven Soderbergh movie. Yeah, I want to see that. That's probably the one I want to see the most of stuff that's like out right now. I don't really want to see the live action. What's it called? Snow White movie. I haven't. That's not even the kind of thing I would like watch on streaming. Really, it's not for me. When does A Working Man come out? Oh my goodness. Oh, a week from now. Okay, that's the one that's basically like The Beekeeper with Jason Statham, but instead of a beekeeper, he's um a working man. I think he works at construction or something. It's the same director, so if you like that, you'll probably like that one. I guess I can't say for sure because I haven't seen it. But that's the feeling I get, is that it will be very similar and it's advertised very similarly. So that's in a week from now. So I have a week to see that. I've heard Alto Nights is kind of boring, which is disappointing because it definitely seems like a movie I would enjoy, but I'll skip that one. And then, yeah, so I guess I just want to see Black Bag. And Novocaine I'm kind of interested in, but I don't know. Not as interested, I guess. Anyway, the reason we're here today is not to talk about random movies that I um want to talk about, but I want to talk about Alien. And I watched it on this beautiful 4K edition that I got. I'm not going to be this way every week. I just really like my monster movies, and they just happen to have really nice 4Ks because the thing is similar. 4K I got for that, but it will not always be this way. But I really thought this 4K looked incredible. If you're into collecting and you like this movie, I think it's worth having. I haven't looked into the extras yet. But you know, there's stuff like the audio commentary by Ridley Scott and cast and crew, which sounds really fun. I could see myself really enjoying that. And then there's another commentary that's just Ridley Scott. That's the theatrical version. That also sounds good to me now that I've watched all his movies. And then there's the final theatrical isolated score, which sounds interesting. I think this score is good. It's not, I can't hum any of it for you. So, that doesn't mean it's bad. It fits the movie really well. I just can't remember it very well. And then there's, I don't know what the difference between the final theatrical isolated score and the composer's original isolated score are, but that exists also. And then deleted and extended scenes. So I think the commentaries sound the most interesting to me. But yeah, this movie in 4K, it's already a really good looking movie. It's a Ridley Scott movie. Who was surprised by that? But the 4K looks really, really good. I've heard that the Aliens 4K is not good because they used AI upscaling for it instead of they did here, where they not reprint, but rescan the film print. So I wonder if they say anything about that on the back here. No, because sometimes it'll say a rescan of the original 4K, overseen by I have a Fargo 4K that it says that it was overseen by the cinematographer. Why can't I think of his name right now? He's the most famous cinematographer. He's the only one that's ever been knighted. Why can't I think of his name? Hold on. Fargo cinematographer. Roger Deakins. So I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, sometimes they'll be more detailed about how that process works, and I think it's interesting. I think film restoration is a really fascinating world, and I like learning about it. And yeah, so today we're talking about Alien. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about The Thing. I just rewatched it last night. It's still very good. And then Tuesday I'm going to read Tolkien because it's Tolkien reading day, and I thought that would be fun. So we have that coming up too. But Alien, let me pull up I'm trying to figure out the best way to look at pictures. Right now I have a PowerPoint set up on Canva. That's my current solution. So I there's really no order to these at the moment, so we might get some random stuff, but I figure I don't know, Alien's a pretty small movie, and it all really takes place on this ship. They're I was thinking about it while we were watching this again. Ripley never leaves the ship really, except for when she's in the emergency pod at the end. Oh yeah, speaking of spoilers for Alien, in case that wasn't clear, we are going to be talking about the whole movie and possibly some of the future installments. I'll try and keep those to a minimum. But yeah. So I was thinking about that because she doesn't go on the planet at all. It's her other people that do that, and that I can't remember their names, but she's on the ship the entire movie. She never leaves except for, in the emergency pod, which I guess is still part of the ship, I guess. So, it's a very small group of people. It was fun to revisit this after doing my Ridley Scott ranking. I feel like I've spent a lot of time thinking about his movies and talking about them, and putting together that video took a really long time. So I've been thinking about Ridley Scott, not like recently because the video's been out for a while, but just in doing that, I feel like I got to know him pretty well, not like as a person, but just like in his work that he does. And hello, welcome. I hope you're doing well. I'm watching lots of movies. That's what I'm doing these days. I haven't been playing a lot of games really. I've been playing I played some more Echoes of Wisdom yesterday. That was really fun. um but I was just talking about how it's interesting that coming back to watching this, because I watched Alien before I started the ranking, and wasn't really thinking about that. So it's fun to revisit his movie after having seen everything else. And it really feels pretty different from the rest of his filmography in a good way. And I mean, I ranked it as my number one for a reason. It's really, really good. And he's, I like that it's really small. It's localized to really one space for the most part. And it is only his second movie, and this is his first like bigger movie. His first movie, it sounds like he kind of financed and got moving on his own, but this was a big studio telling him to make this movie, and I think he really flourished here. I think a huge part of that is the script. He's not a script guy, and so if the script isn't good, the movie will not be good. But if the script is good, as it is in this case, it'll be pretty good. And I just love the look of this movie. It's very like, oh, I didn't realize this did that. I'm figuring this out. I just like this whole scene here is just so, and the reason I love this scene in particular is it really is very just there to increase the mystery, because like this never really comes up again. It's just kind of creepy looking and mysterious. I guess you learn that they talk about how the alien's like skeleton is like on the outside of its body and is kind of foreshadowing to what's to come, essentially, for what's his name's character who has the chest burster burst out of him. But it really just, it looks cool. And something I learned a while putting together, my notes for this, it was fun learning that I guess these are all played by like kids of the production because they thought that the alien didn't look big enough in the middle. Or what do they call it? The jockey? The jockey in the middle didn't look big enough, so they put kids in these spacesuits. And the crew, the other cast members who also wore the spacesuits, had been complaining that they were too hot. And they were like, oh, whatever. But it wasn't until the kids got in the suits and one of them passed out that they were like, oh, we should put some cooling systems in these suits for these guys. So anyway, I thought that was kind of funny. Oh yeah, and I also learned that the only reason this like script got pushed forward as a project was because 20th Century Fox wanted to do another sci-fi film after Star Wars, which I think was also distributed by 20th Century Fox. I could be misremembering though. But sci-fi was really big in the late 70s, early 80s. And it still kind of is now, but not in the same way. Oh, something else I learned while looking into this was a lot of the movie is shot handheld. Um, and I guess basically everything that was shot handheld was shot by Ridley Scott, which is kind of cool. I know there's like another cinematographer, but like he was the camera operator, I guess, which is really fun. I did not know that. I know that Steven Spielberg does that a lot on his films. Like, there's some fun behind the scenes footage of him working on Jurassic Park where he's like directing the actors and then running camera. And I'm like, dude, that's a lot to keep track of. What are you doing? So I thought that was fun. Um, yeah, these pictures are really random. I'm realizing. But hey, this is a cool looking guy. I love the creature designs in this movie a lot. They're very grimy and they fit the world. I mean, everybody in this movie is like really sweaty for most of it, which I think fits. It just feels very. This is maybe not the right term here, but down to earth, even though they're in space. And I appreciate that because it makes it, the kind of crazy circumstances feel more, maybe not realistic, but like it could happen potentially. Let's look at this cool ship. I love models. I love that kind of thing. I love um learning about how they make these older movies when they had to like shoot everything in camera for the most part. They couldn't like, they could do plates of stuff, but it was a lot more practical and hands-on. Like yesterday I was learning about how they do the Thing logo. Like that's not something you could do in a computer. You had to do that like practically somehow, which is really cool. Um I think so much of this movie just like works really well and the script is a huge part of that. I think the vibe is really cool and Ridley Scott is part of why I think it is that way, but I don't think it would work as well as it does without how well the script is and how good it is and how tight it is. Like there's no wasted moments. I love that it starts off with a labor dispute. Like the first like 2 minutes is just showing off the ship and that, it's basically a character of its own. Do I have any pictures of that? I have two of the same picture. Okay, we're gonna skip ahead. This is like how the movie starts, is like shots like this, where it's just kind of showing you the world and like what everything's gonna look like. And then, we get that cool shot of the pods opening, and then immediately, I can't even remember everybody's names. I know Ripley. That one of the guys is like, oh, I want to make sure that I get, my bonus or whatever he's calling it. And I just think that's interesting. And it immediately, like, tells you that these guys are not, like, noble explorers as they would be in, like, Star Trek. But they're more, like, there for their paychecks. That's why they're there. They're there because the pay is good, or at least better than probably what they would get on Earth, because there's a level of, I would hope they would get compensated fairly because they're in space. They're away from home for a long time. I don't know exactly what they're transporting. I don't think they ever say, but there's some element of risk. So one would hope that they're getting compensated fairly in that situation. So I think it's interesting that it starts off that way because immediately you're like, oh, these characters are just here to make money, which is um a really interesting way of doing it because I feel like so much of space stuff up until that point was very like, oh, we're here for the noble act of exploring space because it's the final frontier, just that kind of vibe. Um, but this is more like, I don't know, high risk, high reward, I guess. So, according to Wikipedia, okay, I'm not. I want to be clear about this. According to Wikipedia, Dan O'Bannon wrote the screenplay, and he and Ron Suchet, I don't know if that's how you say that, wrote the story, which are different. So the screenplay is the actual, like, shooting script, you know, where you have, like, the stage direction and the dialogue, and, you know, it's formatted a certain way. And then the story is, like, what the script is based on. And because it's original, you know, sometimes you can have people who did this, worked on this story, but didn't actually put together the screenplay. So I think if I had to guess, that's what's going on here, but I'm not going to say for sure. And I guess they were pitching it as Jaws in space, which is fun. I mean, I love Jaws. And I mean, that makes sense. It feels very, it's a little different than Jaws, because Jaws is like, I mean, like on a basic level, yeah, it's similar, but Jaws is a lot more about the community that it's affecting. And, you know, the last bit of it, you know, when they're on the sea, is more like Alien. But I think that's the part that people remember the most from Jaws, so I guess that makes sense. Let's see what other pictures I have. Oh, this is a cool still. I really like this one. So I really like the story, and, you know, I've said that, but I think Roger Ebert, I found a quote of his where he's talking about the story, and I think it's really well written and really captures why I like it. Let's find another fun still. Let's do this one. Don't mind me hopping around. Okay. One of the great, this is Roger Ebert, these are not my words. One of the great strengths of Alien is its pacing. It takes its time. It waits. It allows silences. The majestic opening shots, these are in parentheses. The majestic opening shots are underscored by Jerry Goldsmith with scarcely audible, far-off metallic chatterings. It suggests the enormity of the crew's discovery by building up to it with small steps. The interception of a signal. Is it a warning or an SOS? The descent to the extraterrestrial surface. The bitching by Brett and Parker, this is what I was talking about too, who are concerned only about collecting their shares. The masterstroke of the surface murk through which surface crew members move, their helmet lights hardly penetrating the soup. The shadowy outline of the alien ship, the side of the alien pilot, frozen in his command chair. The enormity of discovery inside the ship. It's full of, and he's like doing quotation marks because this is what he says, full of leathery eggs. I love his description of the beginning, because that's really what it feels like. It feels like there's not a lot that happens, like, action-wise in the first, like, 30 minutes. Because it's very, like... Here, let's go to... here. It just... the atmosphere is what makes so much of this movie so interesting. And it really just, like... because there's so many things that you're like, what is that? What is that for? Why are they, what? And you're like, at least for me, it just comes off as this kind of sci-fi mystery of some kind. And it just has this allure almost where you're like so curious about the, like, what is this ship? Why are they signaling to us? And then, like, even before the alien appears, you know, there's just so much buildup and interesting stuff happening. And I love that about the Alien movies. Even when, like, I hadn't seen them, I'd seen stills of, like, stuff like this. And I saw the original trailer while I was in line for the Great Movie Ride at Disney World. That was my first introduction to Alien. And I was like, oh my gosh, this looks creepy, and I'm curious about what this is. And I was 10 at the time. I was also thinking, no, I never want to see this movie ever. It looks way too scary. But now, having seen it a couple times, it is still scary, but I don't know. I'm not 10 anymore. That was almost 20 years ago now. And, but it still had this element of like, I'm curious, but like afraid, if that makes sense. I don't know. And I think Alien is really good at um, balancing that line. Um, I also want to talk about the cast a little bit because they're a huge part of why this movie works so well because they're all so well casted. Do I have a still of everybody? This is a funny one to pick, but oh well. So the cast is really good. They all feel distinct and different from each other, which is really cool. I love how like our final girl in this case isn't even really the main character initially. It really is more of an ensemble piece until she's the only one left. um and they really do feel like a crew that like knows each other pretty well but is also just working together. They're coworkers. They're not like best friends. They haven't been, you know, they wouldn't all be hanging out together if they weren't on a job, like because you have your like coworker people that you know pretty well, but they're not like your friends. It's not the same. And I mean, you can have some people that you hang out with outside of work that, you work with, but I feel like that's more the exception than the rule a lot of times. But these are definitely coworkers, and so they have that very, interesting dynamic where you're like, you have to work together, but you're not like best friends. But you're still like cordial with each other. And I guess part of the reason it feels that way is Ridley Scott filmed lots of rehearsals to capture like improvisation and stuff where people were like figuring out each other's relationships and how they would talk to each other, which I think is really cool. And I guess there was already some tension between Sigourney Weaver and the rest of the cast because she was pretty new. Like, this was like her third movie ever, and she's the lead, right? And so, but the person who was, I was learning this too, the guy who plays the captain is billed as the lead in the movie. Like, he's there first before Sigourney Weaver, but that's the only time that ever happens on an Alien movie. After that, she's always the lead. The first person on the call sheet. That's not really. But I guess there was some tension between her and them because she was younger and inexperienced. But I mean, she does a great job, so it's not like that turned out for the worse. And then I have another quote by Roger Ebert. I really like Roger Ebert. I think he's had some interesting things to say. So here's one about their ages, actually, and why that works. And I hadn't even thought about this until I saw the quote, and I was like, oh yeah, that does make a difference in the like dynamic of the movie. Okay, so here's the quote. None of them were particularly young, good grief. Tom Skerritt, the captain, was 46. Hurt was 39 but looked older. Holm was 48. Ian Holm, the guy who plays the robot guy. Harry Dean Stanton was 53. Yaphet Kotto was 42, and only Veronica Cartwright at 30 and Weaver at 28, which is how old I am. I'm 28. We're in the age range of the usual thriller cast. Many recent action pictures have improbably young actors cast as key roles or sidekicks, but by skewing older, Alien achieves a certain texture without even making a point of it. These are not adventurers, but workers, hired by a company to return 20 million tons of ore to Earth. Hello, welcome! I don't know. Louisians? I was thinking about it. I was like, I could do Blahaj something, but I was thinking like Blahaj bunnies, but I don't like buddies. It comes across as like, I don't know. Buddy is a term you use for like a 10-year-old. You know, it's not like adult people. I don't know. I would never call another adult a bunny. Shark sleuths? Shark. I really like alliteration too. So I would want it to have some kind of something. um Louis says shark something. I mean, I do have a lot of shark stuff. I've got my Jaws Hello Kitty cup here always. Snuggly sharks, that's cute. That could work. Yeah, we've never like decided, so I don't know. We don't have like an official term. So, Snuggly Sharks is cute. I could draw like a sleeping shark logo or something. I have been thinking about an aside, doing like a not like a rebrand, but just like a touch up of my branding because it's been basically the same since I started, and I've kind of shifted what I've been doing because I have been doing more movie stuff. But I guess my branding is mostly just shark stuff, so that's not really a problem. I don't know. I think it might just be worth looking at everything again. Just saying. Shark Squad. That sounds like a team of some kind, which I guess a group of fans could be a team. like the Spy Squad. Wasn't that a show in the early 2000s? I could be misremembering though. Shark Squad. Shark. Yeah, Shark Squad assemble. That's basically what it feels like. Which isn't bad, but I think it's funny. I've just been sharing my thoughts about the cast of Alien, and this is the picture I have, which is kind of funny. It's kind of a chaotic one, but it does have like everybody in it, even this guy in the back. Who is that? Wait, this must be a BTS still, because who is that guy? And I think when they shot this, it was mostly just like close-ups and stuff. Anyway, I don't know who these guys are. You're probably the crew. Cause like this is everybody, you know. You've got this guy, you've got her. Am I missing somebody? Yeah, these gotta be crew. I'm like, I don't know who those guys are. So I did want to talk about the cast. So we've got Tom Skerritt as a captain, which is this guy. I will be honest, I think this is the only movie I've ever seen him in. But he does do a good job of playing the captain. He feels like a leader of the group initially, and I guess he turned down the movie initially, which is kind of funny because this budget was not big enough. And the reason they got a bigger budget was because Ridley Scott was waiting for the production to get approved, and he was kind of bored, so he storyboarded the whole movie, and they were so good that the company in, I guess it's 20th Century Fox that distributed the movie, were like, let's double your budget. This looks great. And I cannot express how rare that is. Like, they must have been some pretty incredible storyboards. I wonder if those exist anywhere. Hold on, let me see if I can find them. Alien storyboards, because I know that, wow, these are really cool. Ridley Scott started out as more of a artist. Like he was in production design, so that's why his movies for the most part look incredible. Yeah, let's open this. Oh, it's on Twitter. I don't want to open up Twitter. Can I just open the images? Okay, this is like really zoomed in. All right, let's see how this looks on my little display camera. But like, look at these. The quality's not amazing, but you kind of get the idea of like, look at how cool that is. He's really just an incredible. He's got a great eye for composition and just like, I don't know. I would love to read like a graphic novel version of this with the style looking like it does. Yeah, this is so cool. We don't ever end up seeing anything like this, but yeah, okay. I get it. I can see why they were like, you know what? Let's give him some more money. He's got a vision. He has a plan. So that makes a little bit more sense. I was like, those had better be some like really incredible storyboards, because like to like not only give him more money but like double the budget is kind of incredible. And then you have Sigourney Weaver's Ripley, who is like one of the most iconic characters in cinema and women in cinema like ever. And for good reason. I mean, she loves cats. She loves being alive. She's got this great survival instinct. Like, I think it's really interesting that she initially tells the people who got off the ship and the person with the face hugger on his face, she's like, no, you guys aren't coming back on the ship. We don't know what this is. You could get us all sick. And she's the first like real voice of reason, but Ian Holmes' character kind of just opens it without her, giving them the okay. She's like, no, you guys need to isolate. And like, if they had done that, the movie would have turned out at least somewhat differently. Like, they would have had more control over the situation, and maybe, and what's his name, would have died still. But alas, Ian Holmes' robot guy was working for the company and was like, it's more important that we bring this alien home than the people that are here survive. And I guess Meryl Streep was also considered for the role of Ripley. That would have been very different. I don't think it would have been bad. Sigourney Weaver has this, like, not gruffness, but I don't know. In my head, maybe I need to watch more Meryl Streep, but she's a lot more like, a lot of the roles that I've seen her play, she's playing like, I don't know, she doesn't have the same edge to her, I guess, if that makes sense. And she was also, I think part of why she feels kind of separate from the rest of the group, she was the last cast member to be cast in the movie. So I think that would make her feel a little bit separated from the cast too. Veronica Cartwright, she's back here, plays Lambert, and the only other thing I've seen her in is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 70s one. Yeah, no, she could not have played that role the same way Sigourney Weaver did. She's so good in that. I need to watch Holes again. It has been so long. But every time I like see a clip of it online, I'm like, oh yeah, that movie's like really good. Apparently they're talking about doing a remake, and I'm like, you can't make anything more iconic. Oh, a remake with girls, which totally changes, I think, the meaning of the movie, because it's basically about the prison industrial complex, which is I don't know, I don't think would work as well with girls. But I guess it could work. We'll see. I mean, the original Holes is just so good. It's true. It doesn't happen often, but it's nice. It's nice when it does. I remember I think I read the book. I can't remember if I read the book first or saw the movie first. I probably saw the movie first. But I really enjoyed the book too. They did a really, really good job. Yeah. I need to watch Holes again. Um, I can't remember what I was talking about. Oh, Veronica Cartwright. I've seen her in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is also a sci-fi horror movie from the 70s. Um, I didn't remember her being in that, but I was looking at other stuff she'd been in, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And I guess she thought she had been cast as Ripley until they were doing wardrobe fittings, and she was, um, being fit as Lambert, which is a very, she's a lot more like freaking out and unsure what to do. And then I guess she said basically like, I accepted it because I realized that I'm basically the audience's point of view character, where like she's appropriately freaking out at what's going on. Everybody else, I mean, there are some people that freak out, but everybody else is a lot more like, okay, this is what we need to do. And especially Ripley's this way. So she's like, I feel like I'm the point of view character, which is important, even though it's not the main character. And then we have Harry Dean Stanton, who plays Britt. He is back here. You can't really see him. But he is one of the guys along with this guy. What's his name? I didn't put him in here. But yeah, these two guys are the ones that are talking about like wanting to be fairly compensated and feeling like maybe having just one share or whatever. I don't even know what a share is. I'm assuming it's a lot because they're talking about it in terms of like one or two of them at a time. And they are just like, immediately. I love that the first thing they do when they wake out of cryosleep is like, are we getting paid enough for what we're doing here? And clearly not. I mean, most of them die by the end of the movie. And this guy, yeah, he's in another movie I want to watch. I can't remember what it was. I was looking at other movies, and I was like, oh yeah, he's from Alien. How fun. And then we've got John Hurt here on the table as Kane. I think of him as Ollivander first from Harry Potter because that's the first thing I ever saw him in. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, Alien is so good. I love Alien. I think it might be, in my opinion, Ridley Scott's only perfect movie. I like his other movies good, okay, but it's so good. I think my hot take on Alien versus Aliens is I think this is a better movie. Alien is the better one, but I enjoy watching Aliens more because it's an action movie. Yeah. And because of that, I've seen Aliens like 3 times. I've only seen Alien twice now. I watched it initially like for the 40th anniversary in 2019 and then rewatched it again for this like a week ago. But yeah, I'm not a big horror person, honest, which is ironic because I've been talking about horror movies this whole month, but I like monster movies more than just horror as a whole. Like Jaws is like one of my favorite movies. So, Alien in my head falls under that category. But yeah, I've seen Aliens a lot more. I agree. This was like post, I guess Star Wars is on the grimy side, but it's still like sci-fi fantasy more than this is. This is definitely leans into the realism. Like these are all workers who just come upon this kind of crazy thing. They're not like these, what I like to call like noble explorers a la Star Trek, where they're like, we're going into the final frontier and we're nobly going where no one has gone before. And then these guys are like, the movie starts off with them talking about them not getting paid enough. So immediately it sets that tone of like, these guys are just here to get their paycheck. They just, they're here because this is their way of surviving and making money. And this future capitalistic society, I'm assuming, because we're all talking about money. But, Star Trek kind of removes the capitalism from space exploration. At least in the original series, which is what I've seen the most of. And which is what would have existed at the time that this came out. Um, but yeah, I love Alien. I think it's really, really good. And if you don't have the 4K, I highly recommend it. I watched the 4K for this, and it looks so, so good. Like, the movie already has an incredible atmosphere and looks incredible, but the 4K just really makes it look amazing. Like, those first shots where they're just like showing the ship, I was like, this was a great decision. I love this. It looks so good. So if you have a 4K player and you like Alien, this is a great one. This is a great one to have, I think. Um, I was talking about what's his name, John Hurt. This fella. I think he does a really good job. Like, he's not a big part of the movie up until the chestburster scene, and then he's obviously not a part of the movie after that. But he really does a great job at acting like something's terribly, terribly wrong. And like, I know that that's just kind of par for the course for horror movies, but like, he really just, it escalates. It starts off and he's just kind of like, oh, is this like heartburn or something? But something's off. And then by the time he's like on the table, everybody's, at least for me, I had seen this scene beforehand, before I actually watched the whole movie. I can't imagine seeing this for the first time and not knowing what was coming. Can you imagine that? Like, in the theater, you're sitting there and you're like, something's wrong, but like, what's gonna happen? And then this thing just like pops out. That would be so crazy. I can't even imagine. I think that would be something else. Um, and then, we've got Ian Holm as Ash, of course. Do I have a still of him? I feel like I've got us somewhere. Maybe not. I have one of him like from far away. There he is. I really love this shot a lot. That's why I included this one. Um, but he does a good job of being kind of this antagonistic force, alien or not alien, robot guy. Um, it was fun. And again, I always think of him as Bilbo because that's first similar to John Hurt with Harry Potter, but I think of him as Bilbo. And so it's funny to see him in this movie where he's kind of this antagonistic guy, this robot scientist guy. I think it's also wild that they didn't know that he was a robot. I don't know why they wouldn't tell him that. I also had a friend who was watching this with me who is a scientist, and she just kept saying, like, oh, he's just doing his job. He's learning about this creature for science and all this stuff. And I was just laughing. I don't know if she had seen it before. Because he's clearly, like, not a good, like, they make it clear that he is not trying to help out. And it was also interesting watching this after having seen Prometheus and Alien Covenant for my Ridley Scott ranking, because I feel like I understand more of Ian Holm's monologue after they beat him up or whatever. He's talking about how beautiful the alien is, because I remember watching this for the first time and I was like, huh? That's weird. I mean, I guess he's a robot, so his ethics are going to be a little bit different, but he's like, the alien is incredible because it has no, like, its primary mode is just survival, and it will do anything to do that. And I guess I could see as a robot how that would be an interesting idea, but it's fun having seen Prometheus and Alien Covenant and hearing David the robot guy, another robot man, talking about something similar and how he kind of is fascinated by these aliens and how their mode is just survival. And anyway, it's a little different because he kind of is like anti-humanity or whatever by the end, but Anyway, it was fun revisiting that specific part of it after having seen those. And I don't know how you say this guy's name, but the guy who played the alien is Balaji Badajo. He's this really tall, skinny guy that they were like, oh, he almost doesn't look human. Because I guess originally they wanted the alien to feel less human-like, and I was watching stuff about The Thing yesterday, like behind the scenes stuff, and they were like, oh, we didn't want our alien, I guess also in that case, to be just a guy in a suit. And like, I get that they, having seen that, growing up, how most creatures were just guys in suits. But for me, I find it almost scarier because I feel like now that I've seen so much CGI creatures and stuff, that like they don't have the same like tactileness that a guy in a suit has. And not to say that like The Thing is not tactile, it is obviously, but like now if you were to create a creature like the creatures in The Thing or in Alien, you would do it with VFX. And I think they did for Alien Covenant, if I remember right, and Prometheus, because those came out in the 2010s. And I don't know, I feel like CGI monsters sometimes, if they're not animated or shot in a way that makes them feel more realistic, just don't have the same oomph that like a real guy in a suit does in Alien to me. So it was just interesting hearing that, because obviously their perspective is going to be different. Almost 50 years ago now that Alien's gonna, is 45, 46 years old now. So for me, I like the guys in the suits because that feels more threatening than a bunch of computer pixels. So I don't know. I don't know how they would feel about that now. But yeah, I just think that's interesting. Another fun fact, the lady who voices the computer mother, her name is Helen Horton. She is Lily James's grandmother, which is fun. I also wanted to talk about the models. Speaking of practical stuff, do I even have any pictures of these? Hold on. Look at this matte painting. Also, this is a movie still, but it's like, it is a matte painting, and I love matte paintings also. Yeah, it just looks really, really cool. I don't know. I love the physical stuff that, they throw into movies like this. I can't believe I didn't pull a picture of the... Oh, here's some behind the scenes. I thought this was fun. It gives you a better idea of how big the space jockey actually is, and why they got kids to be in the spacesuits. Like, it's really not that big. Here's Ridley Scott right here. I don't know who this is, but yeah, I can see him holding the camera. I was talking earlier about how I guess he was a camera operator for a lot of it, because a lot of it was handheld. That's a huge camera also to just be holding. Because, when you and I think of handheld, the camera's probably a digital camera, and it comes with like a steady cam sometimes. I guess it depends. But yeah, that's a huge camera. Let me see if I have any of the models, and if I don't, I need to look up a picture, because they're just really cool. Oh, here's one. Okay. Here's one. Because you have like the giant one at the spaceship at the beginning, but I really like this one at the spaceship that makes a return in this kind of spaceship makes a return in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Fun fact, if you are interested in that. It's just such an interesting spaceship shape, and it feels so distinct from like the rocky what am I thinking of? It's not Shoreline, but it's the faraway stuff. It's very obvious that this is not a natural occurrence, and like somebody built this and it's now there. And it looks like it crashed. Do we think it crashed? I don't know. It's very possible that there is some official lore, but within the logic of the movie, you can kind of say whatever. I love that the movie starts off with shots of the ship, and it kind of makes the ship its own character, which is good because they spend the 95% of the movie on the ship. There's only like this one section where they're on this planet where they're seeing the signal, right? And that only lasts like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but the rest of the runtime is on the ship. So it makes sense why they would do that. And I talked about that a little bit with Godzilla too, and how like so much of, you know, monster filmmaking up until this point they had to use, you know, and beyond, obviously, with, you know, they had to use models and stuff, and it looks really good. So another fun fact is 4 cats were used to portray Jonesy. Where's the cat? I love that they have the cat. I was actually talking to about this with my father-in-law who watched it with us, and he was like, what was the point of the cat being there? Like, it just seemed... And I think part of the reason that the cat was there was to give some, you know, fake scares to the crew and to the people watching the movie, and then B, also give Ripley an opportunity to show that she's different from the alien and is willing to put herself in danger to protect the cat, which has no like is not advantageous to her at all, other than it being another living creature, and she feels like she needs to protect it, if that makes sense. And the alien is the opposite of that, where it's like, oh, I will do everything in my power to protect myself, and I will not like has no care for any other creature other than itself, and everything it does is out of protection for itself. So I like the cat, and I like that. I just think it's funny that, I don't know, that they thought to put a cat in here. They could have not put the cat in here, but I'm glad they did. I like the cat. Are there any pictures we haven't talked about? I forgot about this scene watching it again. Like, a lot of it I was like, oh yeah, I remember this coming up, but where they like come across the face hugger like shell essentially, and I don't know, there's just a lot of great stuff happening where we're seeing like Ian Holm. Like, it's fun watching it again knowing that Ian Holm was kind of working at a different directive than everybody else, and you can see it more after having seen it the first time, and you know what to look for. And this was definitely one of those scenes, because you can tell that he's like, oh, don't touch it, you know, let me handle it, and I want to hold on to this for science. And it's smart that he is a scientist, because he would, like, even in normal circumstances, would probably be more willing to, like, maybe put people in danger to find this, like, discovery of the century, right? Where it's, like, this alien that, you know, nobody's ever seen or come across before. So I really like that. This jump scare makes me laugh. I don't... Like, I get the build-up is really good, but just, I always think of, like, him doing, like, jazz hands. I get that that's not what they're going for, obviously, but it makes me laugh. So that's why I put that in here. I did say that out loud when we were watching it. It's like, and, you know, part of the way that I deal with stress is through humor. And so I know that about myself. So I was like, oh, jazz hands, ha ha ha. But in real life, I would probably not do that, because it'd be too scary. Yeah, I think we talked about everything that I wanted to. I really like Alien. I think it's Also, my husband was saying this is his favorite shot of the movie. This is before the jazz hands, right before the jazz hands, and it's a really good one. Yeah, Alien's just one of those movies that's just so good. There's a reason it's been such a pillar in the genre of sci-fi horror, and basically any movie that's kind of like it gets compared to it. Oh brother, just spilling water over myself. Um, yeah, there's a reason that every sci-fi horror movie ever gets compared to this one, and it's been that way for almost 50 years now. It really just is so good. And I'm not even like a horror person. I just like well written movies that have good characters, and the general vibe of this is very like gothic, and I don't know, it's just I love the vibe of this movie, and I wish like none of the other Alien movies feel like this one. They all kind of like the second one is like a little grimy, but it's very much like action movie. It's not like scary as much. And then even the Ridley Scott movies after this one, however many years later when Prometheus came out, they're a lot more glossy and a lot less. I can't think of a better term for this, but down to earth, I guess. This one is just really unique, and I love the way it feels. And yeah, I wish they made another one like this. And maybe Alien Romulus is this way. I actually haven't seen that one yet. I've been meaning to watch it, but I haven't. So I will get to it at some point. But yeah, I love Alien. I think it's Ridley Scott's best movie. I think it's the best Alien movie. It just looks really good. I love the style of it, and um would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, if you feel up to watching kind of a scary movie. It's really really good. But yeah, I love Alien. So that's all I have to say about that. Tomorrow I'll be talking about The Thing, which I'm very excited about. I got the 4K of The Thing also. And actually watched some of there's like a making of documentary on the disc I got that I watched yesterday, and it was really really fun to learn about like the making of it and all that stuff. I know less about Alien. All I've learned is just from articles online rather than like, would a documentary about the making of the movie be a primary source? I don't know. So I'm looking forward to that. And I am excited that I saw that Bong Joon-ho hosted, well, I don't know if he hosted it, but there was a screening of The Thing yesterday night when I was watching it, which is kind of funny, at the Academy's theater. And he like asked John Carpenter a bunch of questions about the movie and stuff, which sounds really fun. And I guess he asked him to do the music for his upcoming horror film, and John Carpenter said yes. So I really hope that actually happens, because how fun is that? So I guess other people are talking about The Thing too. It's not just me. Next month, well, okay, we've got one more week. Next week, we're going to be talking about Tremors, which I've never seen. All the movies thus far that we've been talking about for Monster March, I've seen before. But Tremors, I have not seen. I mostly added it, so it would give me an excuse to watch it. I don't know if I'll have as much to say about that one, because what is this? Because I will have only seen it the one time. But, I'm excited to watch that one. I've never seen it. And I like, what's his name? Kevin Bacon, I think, who's in it. Oh, I did not mean to do that. But yeah, another monster movie. I wonder, is it considered a horror? It's a horror comedy, so it's definitely less on the serious side, less serious than Alien. And um, what else have we been talking about? The Thing tomorrow and Godzilla, which I talked about last week, and then next month we're thinking of doing Al Pacino April, which I think could be really fun. Mostly, it's an excuse for me to watch The Godfather Part 2 because I've never seen it. I've seen Part 1 and I slept through part of it. So I'm going to rewatch that one and we'll talk about that. And then Godfather Part 2, which I've never seen. And it's definitely been a big blind spot in my movie watching. It's just like so long. How long even is it actually? Godfather Part 2. 3.5 hours, which is ironic because I adore like the Lord of the Rings movies, and those are really long. But I don't know. I've just haven't taken the time to watch it, and I really felt like I needed to rewatch The Godfather Part 1 because I fell asleep through part of it, and that one's almost 3 hours. So, and I thought it was just okay. I think I would appreciate it more now having gone through film school and watching more stuff, so I'll probably enjoy it more, but we'll see. I historically have been, it's been hit and miss with me for Francis Ford Coppola movies. My favorite movie of his is The Conversation, which came out the same year as The Godfather Part 2. I didn't know that until recently, and I was like, how the heck did he do that? I want to read a book about the 70s for Francis Ford Coppola because holy crap, what the heck? How did he do that? And like, I think The Conversation was also up for Best Picture, but I could be misremembering that also. Here, let's just look up The Conversation. Yeah, it was also up for Best Picture. That's crazy. So he directed 2 of the films up for Best Picture and was also a producer on them. He wasn't nominated for Best Directing twice, which would have also been crazy, but he was up for Best Picture because he was one of the producers. Wild. Oh, Robert De Niro won for that. I kind of forgot that he's in Part 2. Again, because I haven't seen it. I'm dying that The Towering Inferno is in here. I'm Towering Inferno up for Best Picture. Like, it's fun. The 70s were such a different time for the Oscars. That would be like, not that our disaster movies are any near as good, but like, I'm trying to think of an equivalent now. I don't know. I watched the Poseidon Adventure a couple weeks ago for the first time. That was really fun. I love that time period for disaster movies. Like, I've seen Earthquake. Now, oh yeah, O.J. Simpson is in Towering Inferno. I forgot about that. Yeah, the main stars of Towering Inferno are Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, and Faye Dunaway, which is just wild. If you want to watch something fun with some actors that are in some other incredible movies, Towering Inferno is a fun one. Yeah, and it was nominated for 8 Oscars. It won Best Song, Best Cinematography. Really? What were the other nominations? This is like what I do when I'm just on the computer. I just Google stuff. Okay, I need to find out who the other nominees were. Okay, so The Towering Inferno won over Chinatown. That's crazy. Earthquake, which is another 70s disaster movie. Lenny, I don't know what that is. And then Murder on the Orient Express, the original one, or the 70s one, I guess, which I have wanted to see. Yeah, Ingrid Bergman is in this. I should watch that. And Albert Finney. I think he's great. Anyway, I hope you all have a great week. I'll be streaming tomorrow night talking about The Thing, and then Tuesday night I haven't decided what I'm reading yet, but for Tolkien Reading Day, I thought it would be fun to do some reading of Tolkien, either The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, probably. And then after that, I don't know. We'll see. But I hope you all have a great, great week. I was going to say something else, but it is gone. It's totally gone. But yeah, it's spring finally. The weather's getting better. I'm excited for the weather to get better. And for, the sun to be out more. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Bye.